Good morning, DFC, and welcome back to another lesson in grade 12 entrepreneurship. Today, we're learning the stages of the business life cycle and how they relate to entrepreneurship. So, as usual, we have our 5 tasks. First task is simply to watch this video in its entirety. Next, we'll have a short news article. This is just about a new entrepreneurship program for Indigenous people at Ryerson University. I'd like you to please read that. Next, we have our textbook reading, which can be found here, and it's pages 60 to 64. So you just click on the link. And today's all about the business life cycle stages, and there are 4 stages to this model, and you can find definitions and explanations of these stages right here on page 60. When thinking of a business is a lot like a person, the fact that a person goes through various stages of life. You have birth, childhood, teenage years, adulthood, and your senior years. A business is a lot like that. A business, Amazon didn't start as a trillion-dollar business. It started off as basically just a small business out of a person's garage, and their initial business only sold books online. Now it's a trillion-dollar business that basically sells everything online. So the first stage is startup stage. This is your baby stage. Growth stage, this is your teenage years. Stability and expansion, this is essentially adulthood. And finally, we have our senior or elder years. This is the maturity and decline stage, where a business starts going downhill and maybe even loses profitability. Now, at the maturity and decline stage, an entrepreneur can do 2 things. They can change the business idea and hope to restart the stage again or restart the whole cycle again, go back to the startup stage, or they can close and sell the business. So they close the business dies, it is done, or they can try selling it to see if someone else can restart the cycle. It's very important that the life cycle has no time limit. Some businesses can last only a couple years, whereas some businesses can last for hundreds of years. The Hudson Bay Company has been operating since 1670. So if you've taken history course, Canadian history, you'd have learned that the Hudson Bay Company was originally involved in fur trading. They are still around today, but they don't just sell furs. They have stores like the Bay, Home Outfitters, and Fields. For example, we have Home Outfitters here in town. We don't have the Bay. That's in closest one would be in Winnipeg and Toronto. But this life cycle these stages of the life cycle, they could happen in 1 year, or they can take hundreds of years. Hudson Bay Company is an example of a business that is still around. It still hasn't died yet. I do want you to read this article about this fictional business that has gone through the stages of the life cycle. So just read this reading in its entirety, please. And then we have the short answer questions. One is, describe what happens at each of the 4 stages of the business life cycle. So just tell me in your own words, what is the startup stage, growth, stability and expansion, maturity and decline. And then for 2, write down the stages of the 4, write down which of the 4 stages each event belongs to. And some events may belong to more than one stage. So here, new customers are coming all the time. That will probably be your growth stage. And a website for the business is built. For example, that would be your startup stage. Now, for the example of profits decrease, what stage is this most likely to happen in? So tell me that. There's no one right answer for each event, but some answers or some stages are more correct than others. For example, an entrepreneur isn't going to start a business plan in the stability and expansion phase, but they will create one during the startup phase. Startup. Now, how did understanding the business lifecycle help Snacks eventually become a successful business idea? So to answer that question, you'll definitely need to read this case study right here. Now, why is it important for businesses to set the right price for the products or services? To learn about that, I definitely want you to read this section right here on setting the right price. And think Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It'll make a lot more sense once you read that section. And in your opinion, explain how 3 of the factors of success can help entrepreneurs. So the factors of success are located right here. I want you to pick 3 of them and just explain how they're related to business success. So for example, pay attention to changes. Tell me how this factor of success right here is related to entrepreneurial success in your own words. Number 6, which of the 3 factors of success you chose in question 4, which one do you think is the most important in determining the success of a business? And be sure to explain your response. Number 7, imagine that you're an entrepreneur for a business that's in maturity and decline stage. What are 3 things you could do to improve the business's chances for success? So if your business was in the maturity and decline stage, what are some things that you could do to help get it into maybe the stability and expansion stage, where you turn your business around and you revert the cycle, the business life cycle, which businesses can do? So how can you take a business that's failing and turn it into a success? Now, what are some options for entrepreneurs if their business enters the maturity and decline stage? In other words, what can they do with their business once profits decrease or they become unprofitable? I'm going to say 2 ideas in total. So what are your options once a business enters a maturity and decline stage? Nope, it doesn't necessarily mean that entrepreneurs have to give up, but I really would recommend reading this section right here. Okay, as usual, I'd like you to mark this assignment yourself based on your achievement toward the learning goal, which is stated here. So check off whether you've met these 4 success criteria. And if you have, give yourself a mark of 4 out of 4. If, say, you didn't meet one, you give yourself a mark of 3 out of 4. And as usual, once you submit this assignment, I'll read it, I'll comment it, I'll record the mark, and then I'll hand it back to you. And once you've done that, so I'd like you to do the short answer questions and the self-assessment. Once you've done that, you're done today's assignment. And once you've turned it in, I'll mark it and submit it back to you. All right, as usual, I'll be available in Google Classroom every morning until noon Eastern Time. That's 11 Central. If you have any questions, and also you can just email me as well if you have particular questions. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.